Welcome to the Classic IndyCar Series podcast, episode number 3. I am Josh Baird, your host, and with me today I actually have two drivers, Marshall Stanley and Logan Simmons, racing for Iconic and Vortex. And today we're going to talk with these guys about what life is like in the classic IndyCar series, things that we like, things that we want to accomplish in 2021, and then we're also going to talk maybe some more personal fun stuff like favorite sports and stuff like that. So first we're going to start off with Logan Simmons. Logan, can you give me a brief introduction?
Yes, sir. This is Logan Simmons from Louisiana, driver of the number 92 Race 92 car for Iconic Motorsports.
All right, thanks, Logan. I appreciate that. You've been with Iconic for this last year was your first full season, right?
Yeah, it's been about a year and a half now.
Okay, yeah, so year and a half there, and I think this is going to be your third season, if I'm not mistaken, for Classic IndyCar Series. So, uh, hitting the veteran stage, I would say, and you're going to be a full-time driver this year,
It should be, considering work and stuff. Might throw wrenches in it, but should be a full time driver.
for sure. Okay, and then next we have on here is Marshall Stanley. He recently signed with Vortex Sim Racing. I'm sure that's pretty exciting news for you, Marshall.
Yeah, it's almost like a iRacing's dream come true, if you want to call it that. If you want to,
Yeah, it's like being put on the Penske team of Classic IndyCar Series. So
yeah,
I definitely can see where you'd be excited about that. Can you give us a brief introduction, maybe about where you've been with CIS and some of that kind of stuff?
yeah. This will be either my fourth or fifth year in Classic IndyCar Series. I mostly was running solo as a solo team. Just would do practice by myself during the week, kind of get advice from people here and there, but mostly did stuff on my own, and kind of took the chance with messaging Robert at the end of the year last year, just kind of seeing what maybe the chances were of joining them next year for a few things, and kind of talked back and forth. And what started kind of as like more of a hypothetical turned into like a concrete thing. And yeah, couldn't be more happy be with a fun group of guys, and yeah, hopefully I have a good season this year.
Yeah, I definitely think that Vortex is going to be contending. They're a contender every year for the Classic IndyCar Series. There's no doubt about that. But having a guy like you on there, it's really going to boost the potential to have a good season. And I'm a little nervous about you being with Vortex now. It's going to add another person that I'm going to have to. I know that you've been competitive throughout the seasons already, but just having that extra team backing is really going to change the dynamic, I think, for this season with Vortex, and it's a great addition to have you join them. I noticed last year you had 7 top 10 finishes in 2020. Do you think you're going to work on expanding that this year? I'm sure that's your intent.
Yeah, every season I'm kind of taking as baby steps, especially for the Classic 500. That's always obviously the Super Bowl for us, and it's kind of one of those things where it's such a competitive field, and you're racing truly some of the best guys on the service, and you just have to kind of take it race by race. And it seems to be, to me at least personally, that as long as you're kind of taking it week to week and you can get to the end in one piece, usually have a good season. So hopefully I can build off of the 7 top 10s, maybe get 8 of them this year.
Yeah, I'm on the same page. I want to try and improve my goals, but with how competitive this league is, it's kind of one of those things where it's like I don't know if I want to set the bar too high for myself. I kind of want to make sure I'm still meeting expectations. So I'm on the same page as you to try and improve from last year, but I don't know if I'm ready to say I'm ready to take on the Josh Chins and the Lucas Levilles quite
Yeah.
yet. Um,
And that's the whole thing behind it as well, is that I think the one great addition that I took from being on board with Vortex is the fact of all the Indy 500 experience. It's not a place I'm very quick at, and setup knowledge is not something I'm very good at a place like that. And having guys like Tristan and Lucas and Robert who are really quick at a place like Indy, I thought was like the biggest opportunity for me to maybe have a chance at least getting to the Fast Nine, like maybe having a chance at a top five or even winning it. So I'm really excited. But yeah, so like you said, fast group of guys. So it's gonna be tough all season. It's gonna,
Yeah, for sure. I definitely understand how being with guys like that it'll help improve your abilities as a person and gain experience in the setups. And I'm pretty sure last year Vortex finished 1, 2, 3 when it came to the Indy 500, so they definitely have their setup down over at Indy 500. Logan, so last year you won Las Vegas. By pretty slim margin, but man, what a race that ended up being. Can you give me a brief moment of kind of how you felt and how that race was going for you?
I honestly didn't think I was going to win that race. I mean, I was running six most of the day. Robert's car had such a bad launch that we would get lost from the pack, and we knew if we didn't get a caution, we wouldn't catch back up. And if I didn't get past Robert, I had no shot at the top. I think it was four at the time. So once I got there, I don't know if Robert made a mistake or let me by. I don't know what was going on there, and got the caution, got back up with him. And then I don't know how I did it, but I think Andrew Wood just left a door. I took fourth from him, and then Agan moved up the field. He got up to first, and Josh fell back too. I don't know if it was a chimera thing or what happened, but then all of a sudden, one lap, Aiken just kind of moved up out the groove, and I didn't understand it at all. So I took that place. And truthfully, Agan probably should have won that race, but I guess being a single car team, you don't have people communicating with you about taking less fuel during the race or whatever it was, because he was pulling. I mean, I couldn't catch him. And then we had the pit stop with me and Andrew Aiken, and we come in and we're pretty much side by side on entry, and we leave side by side on exit. And it was all about bravery at that point, because whoever came off that pit lane first was going to win that race. And I don't think I lifted, but I might have. I'm just glad we did. I'm just glad we didn't wreck in that one, and then brought it home. It was wild. I went from, it'd be a good top five to I won the race, and just shocked me.
Yeah, for sure. I felt like after watching that race, I was like, man, that's probably I would say it was probably in top five for favorite races this year, just because the ending was so close and it seemed like such good pack racing throughout the race for everybody. Unfortunately, I ended up flipping 5 or 6 times throughout that race, so I didn't get to see where I finished out. But knowing that you were able to win Las Vegas this last year, does what kind of expectations does that set for you coming into this 2021 season?
Um, Getting more consistent with the ovals, maybe winning the oval championship and kind of cruising with the road courses. I know I can. Well, last year I could have had top tens easily on the road courses had I not made mistakes and had to start from pit lane and stuff like that. But this year, I mean, you got uh, Aero X added two or three people. Marshall is going to finally be able to show some pace that he actually has, because me and him used to race together on a team. We ran the 24 Hours Nürburgring together, and I know that whenever he has the right setup, he is pretty much on pace with me. So that bumped up him a lot more. So now what you have is probably the top 15 is going to be a lot more condensed for the road courses.
Uh,
But go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I agree with the fact that I think that the competition got bumped up to the next level this year, and I do feel like it has improved with a lot of people we've gained through the off season, and I'm interested to see, some of these new drivers come into play, and hopefully that adds to the competition. I know in the off season we signed Willie Schobauer,
Schwarber.
yeah,
Schwarber.
and he's we know that we have pretty high expectations for him coming up, and we'll do our best to try and make sure that he stays up to par. But uh, we're looking forward to having good production from him in this season, and I think as a goal for a team that I think Iconic is ready to take that next step as well and try and lock down some of those race wins or top fives and maybe see some more of us up front in Iconic. So just from that perspective, we'll have that. And I think Aero X is going to do a good job like they do every year. Team Chimera is always going to be a big fight. And then Vortex is, no, nothing needs to be said about the potential that Vortex has to either win or, be a contender for the win. So it's going to be fun to see what happens for us in 2021. I'm really looking forward to it. And I'm trying to think of, you know, maybe some other teams that I forgot to mention in that, but I
Well,
apologize.
Martin Yoon, he's part of the team that was the only team to win on the road course last year that wasn't Vortex or Chimera.
That is true. Yeah, NAB was also a good competitor this year, but I think that they've kind of disbanded as a team. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but but Martin June I think plans on being back. Adam Shipstone plans on being back as well, and then also Johnny Garrett started up his new team, so I'm looking forward to see what him and who's with him right now.
Hagen.
Yeah, are planning to do with this new team. I'm very excited to see what happens there. So to kind of get away from the classic IndyCar series for a moment, I kind of want to ask a couple more questions about you guys personally. And Logan, we'll start with you. Maybe do you have like a favorite sport or something that you like to watch outside of racing?
Uh, I mean, college football is probably my favorite sport. I
Who's
mean,
your
I just enjoy
who's your team?
LSU would be my team.
Okay, yeah, I figures where you're from, it wouldn't make sense to, be in I don't know of any other team, maybe Auburn or something like that might be another team you could root for out of there,
Oof.
but uh,
TCU.
Not
yeah,
Auburn.
okay. So you like college football, and then do you have what do you do for a living, or what are you aspiring to do here in the future?
Um, more so, I do electrical work in the like industrial field in the oil and gas industry. I worked at Sitco and a place called Sasol, different places like that here in Louisiana. Then I went back to school. I got my transportation degree and trying to work toward getting that under wraps and getting a job in that. But the way it's been this past year has been rough on that end.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. It's been quite the past year, I guess. We're coming up on a full year pretty much since everything started kicking off. So it'll be an interesting 2021. I'm hoping that we can get turn the tide a little bit when it comes to the coronavirus. But do you have a favorite race car driver that you kind of support when you're watching the real life racing?
Um, yes, like I'm a Rossi fan, but I was also a Ferrucci fan. I liked Ferrucci. He was different. He wasn't this polished babyface character who was kind of, I guess, how I put this without cussing. Probably somebody who won't kiss your butt and will actually stand up for himself.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I did like Santino Ferrucci. He was a good driver. And I don't know how I feel about Alexander Rossi. I'm still a little on the fence about him. I like him as a driver, but sometimes he can uh I don't know if it's the way he races. He's a little more aggressive, I think, for my taste, but I definitely agree with Santino Ferrucci. And then I I'm going to shift these questions back over to Marshall Stanley. Marshall, why don't you give us a little background, like your favorite sport, your job or aspiring job, and your favorite driver?
Well, sports. As far as a favorite, I'd probably be in the same boat as Logan. My dad's a Alabama alum and played football for the Crimson Tide, so I grew up watching Alabama football since before I could walk, even with around motorsports and stuff like that. But most sports I really enjoy watching, even if it's like cornhole or something. Like anything competitive is usually pretty fun to watch. So if I have time, I'll take the time and sit on the couch. As far as job, I used to work in the music industry as a mixing and mastering engineer for a lot of the music labels out here in Los Angeles, but different genres of music, whether it was rock or hip hop or dance music or what have you. Um, Kind of took over my life, turned more into like a lifestyle than a job, and was doing it kind of 25/8, and burned me out a few years ago, and kind of took a step back from it and started looking at other opportunities. And I still do some of that on the side as far as entertainment stuff and help some friends out. But now I work in life insurance, and I work with my pops, who kind of runs all the annuities and management stuff as a whole, and do that, and still do music stuff, and yeah, sim race. So that's kind of my life.
Yeah, I'm on the same page there. If I'm not doing my job, I'm usually doing something for CIS or iRacing in general. So
Yeah.
it's like a second job by the end of it. Either you're practicing for the next race, or I have some managerial duties as the Classic IndyCar Series admin, so I'm tending to that. So yeah, I can sympathize with the sim racing as a second job, but that's quite the dynamic change from going from the music industry to the insurance industry.
Yeah. The only thing that I would say was the same was the fact that I'm sitting at a desk, but what's in front of me is completely different now. So, um, yeah, it's something I definitely put in a lot of work during COVID because obviously nothing going on. So just studied and got made sure I got my insurance license through the state and all that stuff. So thankfully that went rather quickly. But yeah, it's kind of nice to do both. I think with many things, it's just trying to find balance. As long as you can find balance, usually things kind of stay calm.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, balance is key, I think, to a lot of life success. If you go extreme one direction or the other, you get burnt out, and never a good time if you do that. And so, yeah, it sounds interesting that you spent that time doing that during the coronavirus, and it's interesting. I like seeing ways people have done things to improve their life through the coronavirus. But I think we're actually coming up on our first break, guys. So we're gonna take this time to give our sponsors a couple minutes to talk about what they want to talk about, and then we'll come back for the second half of this Classic IndyCar Series podcast. We will see you in a bit. Virtual RaceCar Engineer is a software package that includes the Setup Developer tool and the Virtual RaceCar Engineer, which assists with real and virtual race cars. The Setup Developer tool walks the user through a step-by-step process of creating and customizing your very own personalized baseline race setup. It does so by asking simple questions about the car type, track type, and behavior of the car on the track. The Virtual Race Car Engineer further fine-tunes the baseline setup to get the most out of the car. Offering whole lap and corner specific advice, VRCE will get the very best out of your setup. Both the Setup Developer tool and Virtual Race Car Engineer can be found in the link below. Welcome back to the second segment of the Classic IndyCar Series podcast. I'm your host, Josh Baird, and today I am fortunate enough to have Logan Simmons with Iconic Motorsports and Marshall Stanley, a new member to the Vortex Sim Racing team. And coming back from the break, we wanted to discuss just a couple of things about what Classic IndyCar Series means to us as drivers. And I'm curious, Logan, what draws you back to CIS every season?
I started whenever I was in college. I was just like, I got on iRacing then because I was bored. Like, there was nothing to do. I'd just come home, do homework, and that'd take about an hour, and then I had nothing to do for 5, 6 hours. So I got on iRacing after being on project cars too for a little while, and that's where I kind of learned my setup from was, and I took them and transferred them to iRacing and made the adjustments needed. And then I found CIFs, and the fact that I had to put in all the work to it, it was a distraction, and it was fun to do. It was fun learning the car. And it was because it doesn't set up like any other car on iRacing. It's got a weird tire model to it, so the challenge of perfecting the setup has probably been what draws me back every year, and then the competition level as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think that you can't really Google it. You can't go to PDS or VRS to get a good setup on it. It's really between what you and your team can do, and the competition that comes with that definitely is definitely rewarding when you can come away with a race win because you felt like you've done so much more than just go online and buy your setup off of somebody, or which I'm not. I don't. I definitely. I'm pro PDS. I'm pro VRS because someone like me, I really don't have the time to get a good baseline set up, and it would take me years to get a setup that I could actually work with. But to have this unique aspect of Classic IndyCar Series where the car's no longer supported, so the car's not changing drastically every month or every build. The fact that we get to run some of these older tracks to get some of that experience, and then I think IRO5 chassis gives a different dynamic that makes it a little more difficult to be able to run around these tracks in a way that was I feel is taken away by some of these newer cars. So I agree that Classic IndyCar Series is a very unique league in iRacing, and it is something that draws me every year to want to come back. By the end of the year, I'm so burnt out. I'm like, I don't know if I can handle another Classic IndyCar Series season because that took so much out of me. But then by the end of it, I'm like, okay, I think I can do another season. So, Marshall, do you have a reason that Classic IndyCar Series draws you back every season?
Um, Mostly just because it makes my Sundays that much better, honestly. This was the first league that I ever joined. Was it in 2017, I believe? Um, and I started about 9 years ago on iRacing. I got an account for my birthday and kind of used it more so as like a tool to learn tracks, because just in case I was able to run the track in real life, I didn't want to have to do the whole learning experience of that. I'd rather just learn the car. And running with these guys, out of all the leagues I've run in, um, as far as the race control, the races, the all the work that's put in behind the scenes, it's been the most consistent, and as far as an experience, like probably one of the best I've had on iRacing. Everyone's a very tight knit group of guys. Everyone keeps up with each other in the off season, even while winter series is going on, and just feels like one big family essentially. And that's kind of one of the things that keeps me coming back. And it, without a question, even when the season ends, I'm ready to go again for the next year, just because I know I'm going to be with a fun group of guys and have some fun racing.
Yeah, for sure. That's another good point that I like to think about too. Is that your Sunday? It feels like a race Sunday. Like you wake up the next morning and you're amped up for the race, and you're like, man, I'm ready to do this. I got the 2 hours in me. I got a good setup behind me. I'm a little concerned about the race conditions, but I think I can manage it. And then by the end of it, you feel like you just got done running that 500-mile race, and I think, or the 250-mile race. And I think that with this series and how close the administrators try and keep it to a real life experience is it's done very well. In line with what you said. So, and I love going to the gym or when I'm working and want something playing up in the background. I love being able to go back and watch those broadcasts as races because I feel like it's just such a professional experience throughout that. And then it's like you said, it's also fun to be able to keep in touch with this tight knit group of guys. And I feel like we really would. We like to meet up with each other in real life, and I feel like we do get along very well. And if you're struggling in the series, if you reached out to any one of us in the series, you really feel like that people are open and honest and willing to help you be better and become a better driver. So I do appreciate what we go through as a community in the Classic IndyCar series. So looking back last year, we did have quite the season. I think in one of my previous podcasts, I mentioned that maybe 2020 was one of the best seasons. And I think one of the reasons that I felt that way was because of the fact that up until the last 10 laps of the race, or last lap of the race, we really had no clue who was going to win the championship. And I know one of my first seasons was when Matt Cook was racing, and he had the championship locked up one or two races early. So this was kind of a new dynamic for me this year to be able to see that. But as well, I feel like some of the top 10 finishes from this last season were some of the tightest that we've had in the season as well. So I loved the 2020 season. I loved the iconic we sealed our first one in the 2020 season, and the tracks were a ton of fun. Marshall, how do you feel like the 2020 season was for you, and some of the aspects that you felt like you had?
I really enjoyed last year. Like I said, every season for me has been kind of baby steps of progression. I don't think of like hitting the ceiling. I just think of just trying to improve every day, especially on something like this. And to get 7 top 10s in 2020 was absolutely insane because, like you said, it was a really tight field, and you really had to make sure you kind of essentially diminished your mistakes, made sure that you just had clean races, good finishes, and they would all kind of work out in the end. But yeah, to come down to the last race and me not even being in the championship, kind of watching the leaderboard and seeing Lucas and Josh kind of go back and forth before Josh ended up having his issue in pit lane. It was really fun to watch, and getting to watch it on the broadcast, I think, made it that much better. And yeah, hopefully we can top it by doing it next year.
Yeah, we set the bar pretty high this last year, so I'm looking forward to seeing what comes of 2021. I'm sure it'll be just as good, if not better, than last year. I was pulling for Lucas Laville to win the championship just because of, I love Lucas, and him and I, have a very tight relationship administrating this series. But I was disappointed to see Josh Chin's season ended in that fashion. It was such a heartbreak to watch. He worked so hard to make sure he was in the proper position to win the championship. And then on top of that, he didn't get any extra breaks through missing races that he had to miss for work. And so it had to have been such a heartbreaking ending for Josh Chin to not be able to finish the season he wanted to. I'm sure he would have been right up there fighting with Lucas and Robert in the end of that race. But I'm also very happy to see Robert Grosser finally get his first Indy 500 win, and hopefully this 2021 season we can have someone other than Vortex win the Indy 500. I think you guys are 4 wins now out of the 5. No, maybe there's only 4 Indy 500s. No, it's sorry,
Yeah, they
we're
won them all.
yeah, they've won them all. Tristan,
Tristan and Robert
And
are
they
the
fin-
two.
yeah,
they
so that's
finished
right.
top 3 in every single one of them.
Yeah, exactly. So, Vortex, you guys take a break this year. Let another team take the honor of the Indy 500.
They are
So
legitimately Team Penske.
yeah, they are. They are. It's fun to
Feels like.
watch, fun dynamic. But we gotta work really hard to overthrow you guys this year in the for the leaderboard at the Indy 500 and for the championship. Though it will be extremely tough. Do you, Logan? I'm going to turn that question to you. How do you feel 2021? I know you had some races where you were right up there in the front, and it didn't go your way, and then obviously you had your maiden win, and so I'm sure that it was a roller coaster of emotions for you this past season.
Yeah, I know. Fontana, that one felt like the biggest gut punch because that felt like the one that should have been the win because I felt like we had the best car in that race. I mean, me and Caleb, and technically he wasn't on our team, but Clark was. He was a partner with the team. We were up front the whole race, and just I got took out by the wreck that happened up front and had nowhere to go. And then the fuel saving issue is Josh Chen is a master at fuel saving and being fast with it. We have learned that over the years.
Oh yeah, I
And
agree.
then just qualified fifth for Sebring, and that bump in Sunset Bend coming out of what is the modified version that we were running just bottomed out and spun, and just had weird luck. Like at Phoenix, couldn't get loaded in for the race when I felt like I had a car that was probably the fastest, and it showed because I had fastest lap of the race for most of the first half, and that was being 13 laps down. And then where did we go after that? I think we went to Brands Hatch Indy. Was running a solid race. Got qualified fifth there too. Got hit from behind and damaged the front wing and kept going. I should have pitted on the first lap and not lost as much time, but the car felt fine for a little bit, but then got that bad understeer in it. And then Zolder happened, and then I don't know, there was just this burnout after trying to get top split for the iRacing 500 last year. And I didn't show back up until I want to say Las Vegas and won that one. Then made Fast 9 in the Indy 500 qualifying and missed my pit stall, and then had the accordion effect from I don't know where on back, and thought everybody was going and nobody went, and then everybody scattered and took myself out on lap 20 or so. So yeah, it was just a weird year. I mean, this year just try to limit all that, put a little bit more time into the road courses, short ovals, stuff like that.
Yeah, so it sounds like towards the end of the year, you feel like your confidence was back on the rise. I mean, getting caught up in those accordion effects can just, a lot of times you're just along for the ride. There's nothing you can really do to change the outcome of those situations. So, but it sounds like you may have left the 2020 season with somewhat of a momentum building case to have a good run in 2021.
Oh yeah, I think so. Been doing some preseason testing for Phillip Island. I feel pretty comfortable there, especially after I got them new TLCM pedals. Feels like I can brake a lot better. I'm excited for adding Race 92. Um, Open Wheels will still be a sponsor. They're going to move to Caleb Weekly's car, but they'll still be a sponsor on the team.
Okay, so yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that Race 92 car here coming up on the season. I love their logo, so to see that on the car and see the paint will be a cool aspect to bring to the new series. Speaking of paints, Marshall, you're gonna get a new paint job this year. Are you gonna go along and match with the other Vortex guys, or you gonna get a unique? I know you guys do what, like a unique color to for the mirrors and maybe the tail wing. You have a color in mind?
Yeah, so yeah, obviously new paint. It'll be great. Well, the Vortex way is obviously gonna be looking about the same with the special color accents. I think mine's gonna be the powdered blue, essentially the same color that the San Diego Chargers used to have back in the day. So yeah, I got to run the paint a few weeks ago, just doing kind of like a video editing thing, and it didn't really hit me. It hadn't hit me yet that I was a part of the team until I sat down and in a VR headset and kind of just looked around at the paint and kind of went, yeah, like the realization of this is it. Like you get the opportunity to race with like one of the best teams in CIS, if not one of the most iconic teams in iRacing. So I couldn't be more happy just getting the opportunity to be able to run with these guys. So I'm super excited.
Yeah. Yeah, I could imagine getting in the headset for the first time and sitting in the Vortex car. That'd be like getting in a Verizon car or Marble back in the day and looking around and being like, man, look at the other people that have sat from this viewpoint. You got Robert Grosser, Lucas Leveille, TM Hauser's got Indy 500s under his belt. So, very iconic team to be driving for, and looking forward to seeing how you guys do this season. Speaking of this season, I think I'm going to go ahead and read some of the places that we're going to be racing at this year. We'll start off at Phillip Island, as Logan alluded to, and then we're off to Long Beach. Finally, we got the finished course this year. I know I've taken the IRO5 out on the new Long Beach circuit, and I love the view. Do you guys like Marshall? Have you guys taken it out yet? Have you taken it out, Marshall or Logan?
Uh,
I have.
I could give you a number of hours that I've probably spent around there in different cars since they've released it fully, and it would sound a little crazy. So it is. I am very happy the way they did the project for every detail that they had done on Long Beach, and for how long it had been since we obviously had the tech track. They did a hell of a job. I think it was well worth the wait, seeing what it looks like now, and it as far as what RaceBot's going to have as a broadcast, it's going to look absolutely amazing.
I'm glad we're going there this year and not going to Detroit. This car hates Detroit, and
hmm
it seems to like Long Beach a lot more.
Yeah, I agree. Detroit has always been a curse for this series. Those bumps, it just gives you too many, and I think that this car, the rear suspension can't handle those bumps, and it made it very tough. I know last year I was working the night before, so I accidentally fell asleep at the wheel and crashed, which ended my race a little early. I was a little embarrassed by that, but Long Beach is going to be so awesome this year. I'm pretty sure the first time I got in Long Beach and started driving around in a VR headset, I got goosebumps because it just looks so real, and it's going to be so fun to be able to take a open wheel IndyCar around that track and try and race for the first time there since they've built it. So next we got Kansas Speedway, and then Twin Ring Motegi. I know we hit that pretty recently, and that was a pretty good event. Kansas, of course, is going to be a great event. And then we go back to Watkins Glen this year. I know last year we had a pretty good event there with Josh Chin winning that race to really get himself back into the title contention. And then we're going to hit Richmond at it as the night track this year as well. I remember my rookie year we went there. It was a very tough track. The car does not agree with some of those turns very well. And then we'll be off to Michigan in the beginning of August after the summer break, and that track will be great for this IRO5 IndyCar. Probably gonna be my obviously next to Indy 500. It's probably gonna be my favorite oval. Logan, are you looking forward to taking Michigan on this year?
Yeah, I really am. I'm hoping that it's a hot race and it's we don't pack up because when you can drive that track and actually have to put some effort into it, it to me it's probably one of the most fun tracks because that understeer that is very heavy through one because of the way the track falls, because you really only have four grooves, but that fifth groove on the bottom, if you hit it right, you can take it. But their transition, if you try to diamond that corner, it does not work for that car. So it will be fun to see. And we were talking about Richmond. This car has an issue where the right front, you have to just magically get that thing to stick into the track. Otherwise, you'll hear it sliding.
Yeah, I remember I had issues with Richmond. I think that was coming off of a break, and I don't know if I was quite prepared for that track, and I struggled that whole race. I think I even remember a couple people coming to me afterwards, like, "Man, what were you thinking out there?" because I was doing so terribly. Um, but is there any, Marshall, do you think there's any of these tracks that we just mentioned, like Michigan or Richmond, that you're really looking forward to from that perspective?
I'm happy to see the Triple Crown back. It's great to see because we usually have a lot of fun with that as a whole. Richmond, as far as the entire schedule, Richmond probably scares me the most just because short track racing at these cars and obviously no new damage model, no new tire model, and there's no dynamic track at the moment. So I would say everything else looks like we're gonna have, or at least me personally, I'm gonna have a lot of fun with, except probably for Richmond. That's the one that scares me the most.
Yeah, I agree. The Richmond one, I'm gonna have nightmares. I think I still do have nightmares from the last time we raced there. But with it being night, I think it helps us a little bit. But I think we're still gonna be in for a treat from an audience perspective. We're probably gonna see a lot of action throughout there, but it's gonna be stressful for us drivers to try and survive that. But after Michigan, we're going to be heading to Sonoma for the next road course, and then we're going to be off to Chicagoland, which is going to be very similar to Kansas, I think. And I had a lot of fun at that track. I felt like I had a pretty good car that year, so I'm looking forward to that one again. Mid Ohio always scares me because of the elevation changes. The car tends to get a little loose. And then we're up to Road America, which is another favorite of mine. And then following that is the infamous Indy 500 and the fourth year running for the Classic IndyCar Series. Looking forward to having a good showing at that this year and hopefully maybe finishing a little better. I know it's one of my goals this year to get podium, and I'm hoping that Indy 500 is one of those places I can actually finally conquer that beast. I have been able to finish the Indy 500 every year that I've raced with Classic IndyCar Series, but I've never been able to get a podium. So I'm looking forward to that as we end the season, and hopefully, from a championship perspective, we can get a similar ending to where we have three people fighting for a championship up until the last couple laps of the race. So, looking forward to that. Is there any other parts of the last half of the season that you guys are looking forward to?
That back to back with Mid Ohio and Road America. Those are two of my favorite tracks. Mid Ohio more so than Road America. Mid Ohio is that technical, easy on the throttle, managing the car kind of track. And Road America is just cathedral of speed in America. It's just long straightaways, fast corners. I mean, and you got the mix of slow corners, but I mean, you got the dang carousel, the kink, Canada
Right.
corner,
Yeah,
the old bridge turn.
there's some pretty intense corners in Road America that I feel are almost unique to that circuit. A lot of very low speed, hard hitting corners, and then you got the carousel, which is your high downforce corner, and then you got that really long backstretch that allows for a lot of competition and ability to take on your opponent. Before heading into that final slow right-hander. So yeah, Road America is very unique and a very special place to race. I would probably say top five in my book for one of those courses. So and then I'm sure you're looking forward to Indianapolis for the Indy 500, Logan. Speaking of that, I'm gonna step away from CIS for a second. Are you gonna try and run the iRacing Indy 500 again this year?
Uh, I don't know. To me, it's not as big an event now. Once you added the Open Wheels 500, you kind of negated that event. That event just doesn't feel as big now.
Sure. I feel like we had a lot of people qualify for it. Would you still at least, but if you had to choose between the two, the iRacing Indy 500 or open wheels, you're gonna probably do one of them, right?
Yeah, no, I'm saying the open wheels 500 will be the one that I go for.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't know if I want to do that again this year. I got kind of burnt out last year, and I kind of got in trouble for how many hours I spent trying to build that setup. I got a little consumed with trying to be ready for that event. So I don't know if I'll be doing that this year. And with the new league admin duties, I might just sit back and watch it. But it was a fun attempt for me. Marshall, do you have any tracks on this last half of the season that you're looking forward to outside of Indy 500?
It's cool to see Sonoma back on the schedule. I mean, I think Road America and Mid Ohio are definitely a given, just due to the fact that those are one of the few original IndyCar tracks since the '70s they've been running at. So obviously both great facilities, but having Sonoma on the schedule again, I think it's been a couple years since we've had Sonoma back, and I think that'll be a huge strategy race just because it's not maybe the easiest place to pass and get through traffic. Um, and having Michigan and Indy, of course. What else could be said about Indianapolis Motor Speedway?
Right. Yeah, that's definitely the marquee event for Classic IndyCar Series and IndyCar racing as a whole. I would say that I am on the same page with you with Sonoma. I know growing up when I used to hit those old school sim racing games, I would always try and hit up Sonoma because I just love how that track looks. I love hitting those hills and then trying to navigate those tricky S bends going down the backside of the track. And then, of course, you got the famous hairpin there at Sonoma. So it's always a fun time to get down on that track. But I'm used to it from the NASCAR aspect. So this will probably actually be the first time I've ever taken an IndyCar on Sonoma Raceway, so I'm looking forward to that as well. I think it will be interesting to see the dynamic of the back-to-back road courses in week 12 or race 12 and race. No, I'm sorry. We're gonna that would be race 10 and 11, I believe, because Dan Lisa includes the preseason races. Anyway, having the back-to-back road courses at Mid-Ohio and Road America is going to be very interesting. And, maybe some of those people that are better at road courses and maybe not so good at the ovals will get their chance to knock out some points and make their way back into the championship. So I'm looking forward to seeing that, or vice versa for the oval people, maybe not falling or maybe falling back a little bit when it comes to those road courses. So that'll be great to see that in action. And obviously the Indy 500. I don't even think there needs to be any more said about that. It's just such a fun event, and every year has been great racing at the Indy 500. But we're going to get ready to head into our next break and take the time to give our sponsors a chance to get their word in. So we will be back here to wrap up the final segment of the driver's edition for the Classic IndyCar Series podcast. IndyCar Ministry is the official pastoral care of the NTT IndyCar Series Road to Indy and the MX5 Cup, and we're focused on building relationships within the IndyCar community by serving those involved with the love of Christ. IndyCar Ministry is a non-profit, non-denominational organization that provides at-track services, counseling, and support in times of crisis for the IndyCar community at every race, as well as at home. IndyCar Ministry is supported entirely through donations from the racing community, and we invite you to partner with us. Visit our website at indycarministry.org, or like us on Facebook, or subscribe to our YouTube channel to see what we're all about. Welcome back, everybody, to the final segment of the Classic IndyCar Series podcast, Drivers Edition. I have Marshall Stanley and Logan Simmons here with me, and we're just going to go ahead and talk about what the 2021 season looks like. I know we covered the track list just a few moments ago, but we're going to go ahead and talk about some of the people that are planning on joining us this year. We have some rookies. Let's see if I don't butcher these names. This is going to be probably difficult for me. Is it Felipe Lambert or Philip Lambert? Do you guys know?
So we just call him Philippe.
Yeah, Philippe. We'll call him
Yeah.
Philippe. Paul Valesco, Vladislav Zenkov with Team Simrace 24/7, Ian Mitchell, Cody Luke, Don Day, Mike Robinson, Rod Carpenter, Willie Schober, Gavin
Schwarber.
Smith, Schwarber, Gavin Smith, Russ Addy, Trevor Blackburn, and then Trevor Blackburn, I know is going to be a notable. Paul Valesco has raced before in CIS, one or two races quite a few years ago. I know Willie is going to be a good addition to Iconic Motorsports, and then Russ Addy is also joining Aero X. So some team names. There's a lot of independents, a couple teams. Vortex, obviously, notable with adding Marshall and then Philippe, and then Iconic adding as well as Aero X adding two new people. So couple more people this year that may be adding to the competition for Classic IndyCar Series in the 2021 season. And then we're going to look at some of the returning guys as well. If I can pull this up here, Lucas Leveille returning in the number one car this year after he won the 2020 Classic IndyCar Series Championship. Robert Grosser in the number two Vortex Sim Racing car. Randy Shoemake will be returning as well. Jonathan Diggs, Jan Hoffen, Henry Bennett, Hans Pickenen, Craig Hobson, Caleb Weekly. Let's see here. Nate Michael, Sam Winton, Ethan Egan, myself, Marshall, Andrew Aiken, Matt Molnar, Mike Gerlicka, Franz Joseph Stum, Carson Broadway, Todd Novosad, Art McEwen, Niall McBride, Andrew Adair Saunders, Andrew Wood, Johnny Garrett, Jamie Wilson, and Martin Yoon, Logan Simmons, Josh Chin, Vesa Ula Alia, and then Stefan Rossman. So a lot of familiar names that we've heard of plenty of times throughout the Classic IndyCar Series history. Very iconic names in there. I know that Josh Chin's going to be looking to make up for the pit stop error that ended his chance for running for the championship this year. It's going to be interesting to see that. And then obviously Lucas Leveille looking to defend his title again here in the 2021 season. Robert Grosser is always a strong threat. Henry Bennett is a previous winner. And then us three in here are usually in top 10 contention for the win. Johnny Garrett, I'm looking forward to seeing what he's going to bring to the season with his new team. Jamie Wilson obviously is going to be a contention for the fight for the championship. So a lot of big names coming in this year that are returning from last year. So I'm looking forward to the competition of 2021. Do you guys feel like that it's going to be an increase in competition? Are you looking forward to hearing some of the names that are in there this year? Or Marshall, why don't we start with you?
I think I know one person that hasn't been brought up yet is Dennis, who is like the boss man at Vortex Sim Racing. Having him back, I think the last time he ran CIS was 2016, maybe. Maybe I could be wrong on that, Robert. You know
Yeah.
more than I would. But having him back, having some new additions, come back, having having the same top five standings. I think a lot of people from last year that maybe didn't have the greatest of seasons are going to surprise you,
Hmm.
especially people like Johnny. Johnny Garrett's been putting in a lot of work during the Winter Series. Like Jamie's been putting in a lot of work. He's been mega quick on everything, and he's maybe putting in like a little bit of time. So once I think the season gets up, like Chimera is going to be really good. Andrew Wood's gotten really good at road courses. So he's going to be a full package driver. So I'm really excited. I think a lot of people have elevated it a little bit since last year because of COVID, and um, I think you're going to see a lot of close racing, not only from the front five but throughout the field.
Oh yeah, for sure. I would like to take note of, yeah, having Dennis back to the Classic IndyCar series. That is great. Andrew Wood, always a person that I don't know. It almost seems like he has some bad luck. Niall McBride, did not see his name on the list for this year. If he does return, he kind of had a rough going last year, and I think he would have had a better chance of finishing in a lot better spots had he not had, if he had the cards go a little more in his way. I agree that Johnny Garrett is going to be freakishly fast this year, teaming with Ethan Agan as well. I'd like to see how Ethan Agan does with the team, maybe bounce some setup ideas off each other, and hopefully he has I know he ran into some races last year where he was really going well, and then fate hit him in a negative way. Logan, is there any other names you think that you saw on this roster this year that will provide some stiffer competition?
Well, you got Gerlica with Galaxy and Hobson. The reason I say that is because Gerlica has been fast at a lot of places. Him and Johnny work together, so he has some of Johnny's old setups. And if can, if Craig's good with setups, then I think that they will be a sleeper team. And like I said, SRC with Johnny Garrett and Ethan Agan working with Johnny over the winter. That was he knows his stuff, and I think that putting them two together, that's going to be a pretty potent package. And then you got all these teams that added drivers. So you have Vortex now that is one, two, three, six drivers. I want to say we are at I want to say 7 or 8 with Willie. Um, AeroX is now up to 4 cars. I mean, you've got teams that were really good that just added to their roster. So
Yeah.
that to me is going to be the biggest factor of this year.
Yeah,
Is
can't fail to
where
mention
do
as I say, can't fail to mention the defending champion who also just won Winter Series as well.
Right.
So I don't think he's gonna be any slower this season. I think he's gonna be faster too. So yeah, like you said, more everyone ammoed up, right? So should be
Yeah,
a great year.
you just got to watch your back, Marshall. He tends to run into teammates, so.
As long as my name's not Robert Grosser, right?
Yeah,
As long as
right. Yeah, right. If you're not Robert Grosser, you're safe. So,
love you, brother.
yeah, we can't. We're not gonna let Lucas live that down. I'm sure he's gonna take a listen to this at some time, and we won't forgive you for that, Lucas. It was sad to watch, but it's also fun to look back at and laugh at now. So yeah.
also another name. If Henry Bennett decides to run the full season, that will be a tough, tough, tough challenge.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he
Oh,
never really defended his championship.
yeah, I
He did
agree.
not. Yeah, so we haven't seen him since then. So that's going to be something interesting to see.
I would love to see Henry Bennett return full time to the Classic IndyCar Series. If we could have Matt Cook back too, that would be the ultimate test of some of the toughest drivers of Classic IndyCar Series. I'm afraid we won't probably ever get Matt Cook back, though we do kind of get to live vicariously through some of his teammates because Randy Shoemake last year had a very good season, had his maiden win. I know. Andrew Aiken's always hitting those top tens. He had two poles last season, so he's always looking for a fight, and so we do kind of get to live through Matt Cook through there. But Henry Bennett, man, that would be such a tough competition to watch him, Josh Chin, Lucas Leveille go head to head as returning. Well, I guess Josh Chin doesn't have a championship, but I think he's a bit overdue for one. So we'll look forward to seeing those three battle head to head, and then I know from even Marshall coming on with Vortex, he's going to be Marshall, you're going to be tough to beat. I know the SRC guys are going to be tough. Like you were saying with Galaxy, that's going to be a great team to watch develop over the year. And holy cow, it's going to be quite the lineup. I know I'm looking forward to seeing if we can top the 2020 season with an even better 2021 championship fight. Um, with that being said, there is a lot of competition this year, so I know for myself, setting goals higher than 2020, my goal for 2020 was to finish all the races because I watched, I believe it was Santucci, his rookie year. They told him finish your races, and he finished top five in the standings for his rookie year of the NTT IndyCar series. So I was like, man, I why don't I just set that goal for myself? And at the end of the day, I ended up having a decent finish. Let's see here, top 10, seventh. I ended up finishing seventh in points that year. So this year, I'm going to set the bar a little higher. I would like to see myself have a podium finish some point throughout the season, whether it's by luck or skill. So I'm looking forward to that. Logan, do you have any goals that you are trying to accomplish this year?
Road courses, just figuring this car out and learning to anticipate the amount of grip change that you get in the car. That's been the biggest thing for me with this car on road courses is that you can drive the car the exact same every lap, but one lap it's just a different grip level than the other laps. It
Hmm.
just so that's the one thing I've got to learn this year. So I want to try to finish all the road courses and then push for the ovals because I've got the win. Now it's time to take that to the next level.
Yeah, for sure. I know that Iconic, we tend to lean better on the ovals for setups, and road courses have always kind of been a struggle for us. And I mean, even ask Josh Chin, he did amazing at the ovals, but he had those one or two races on the road courses that ended up just not working out in his favor because, like you said, you could hit that turn a million times, but a million and one in this car could end your day. And unfortunately, they're not as forgiving. These Indy cars are not as forgiving as some of the other cars that we have on the service. So to have these cars be so tough on road makes it that much more disappointing when we don't get to finish our races. So I can empathize with you on finishing the road course races. So we'll look to see if you can make some improvements from this off season and be prepared with those new TLCM pedals that are TLCM, yeah, TLCM
Yep.
pedals that you got this year, and um, looking forward to seeing how you finish those road races. Marshall, same question to you. How do you feel you're gonna? What are your plans for 2021? What are some of the goals that you're trying to accomplish?
Um, if I can match kind of the stats I had last year, that would be great. Just as a base goal, just to get like 7 top 10s would be awesome again, and even to get some top fives here and there would be great. Mostly my main goal this year is to just try to stay off the penalty list. I had a few races that should have gone better than what ended up obviously the result, and it was more so down to me than anything else, and I just need to make sure I keep working on coming out of small mistakes and recovering and like being able to just kind of calm myself and not make those errors again. So I think the pace will come just being with so many fast guys. But yeah, just hopefully not run into anybody and have any issues throughout the season.
Yeah, getting into your own head is, I feel like, one of the biggest faults that many of us drivers have. I know that when I get into a situation where I messed up out on the track, I find like the next 3 or 4 laps, I'm just nitpicking every little mistake, and it takes me a while to get back into the groove. So, some of those, I can empathize with some of those errors out on the track, and trying to keep your focus and not lose that focus throughout the race. Do you feel like that there's any higher expectations now that you're on Vortex, or are they being pretty relaxed about it, and you're just gonna drive to make yourself better?
I think more so now more than anything, there's definitely pressure. I wouldn't say that there's none because like at least more so maybe putting pressure on myself than say Robert and Dennis are. Just because I want to make sure I represent them in a good way and be able to show that not only on track but off the track. And it's I think with Winter Series it was good for me and Lucas to finish 1 and 2, and I think that gave Robert a little bit of a sigh of relief of like, all right, he's hopefully going to do well this year. And getting to win at one of the Winter Series races was great, just kind of giving me that confidence of like, yeah, you can do this, you belong like up with these guys. And I think with that, it makes it more as a fun experience for me of just
Hmm.
being able to work with such a good group of guys and guys that have been veterans at iRacing for so long. And yeah, I think it makes me more excited than anything more than pressure. So hopefully it will transpire more to pressure once the season starts.
Yeah, right. Well, it's tough. I gotta imagine it's tough going with those seasoned veterans that it's like, man, these guys are putting down these times with the same setup as me now. I can't use my setup as an excuse anymore
Exactly.
because these guys now are running the same as me, so now I have to keep up with them. And I have all the confidence in the world that you'll do great this season being able to keep up with those guys. It's just I can only imagine the pressure that may naturally come from being with a team of guys that have been running the show for the Classic IndyCar Series, and names that have been up on the leaderboards more often than not. And I tried to get the stats of Vortex team when I was talking to Robert and Lucas the other day, and let me see if I can pull those up real quick. But knowing that last year Vortex won the uh, the team championship for 2020, I'm sure they've won multiple other team championships. I'm not finding that information here, so um, it's definitely a legacy that Vortex is going to leave behind, and it's got to be exciting and nerve-wracking at the same time to be a part of that team. I know from speaking from Iconic's perspective, I know we haven't really had the talk of team goals yet, but we're looking. We'll probably set the bar one step higher for us this year. I think everybody lived up to the expectations of the team goal, and so I think we might take that one another step for Iconic because we finished third in team points last year, but you always want to be bettering yourself. So I think from an Iconic perspective, we'll be looking to do that as well. Logan, do you have any expectations for Iconic as a team this year?
Um, no, I mean, as long as we can finish races, I mean, we got fast enough guys, we can take our points totals and move up the board in the team championship standings.
Yeah, definitely. Having more, what do I want to say, like more, we have a stronger road guy showing up this year with Wooly, so I'm hoping that our road game shows up a little better this year. And then I think AeroX, Team Chimera, they're going to bring their A game for sure. And then Galaxy is going to be somebody I'm interested in. And then SRC, of course, is also a new team this year that is going to be very interesting to see how the cookie crumbles, if you will, at the end of the season with having so many competitive teams coming up this year. So I think we're kind of running out of time here. I kind of have a question that I always find fun to talk with people about because our beloved IR05 is no longer receiving the love that iRacing once gave it on the service, and I always find it fun to ask the question: if you could have iRacing do one more thing with the car, if you could say, guys, I understand you don't want to support it anymore, but I want X. Logan, what do you think you would want them to do with this car to top it off to make it a great car to continue on the service?
Um, New tire model. I mean, that's the big thing. Something that, I mean, it does. I don't want something that's going to ruin what we're doing as far as our oval package. Our oval package is actually really good as far as letting the field spread out. Doesn't really pack up whenever you use the Pocono and the Indy downforce package. So that's something that I would want to see just to give the road courses a little bit of a bump and to throw strategy with the softs and the hards. Um, that's just one thing.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if that new tire model included the tire package where we could choose the tire layouts for the car. I feel like that would increase competitive and strategy levels to be able to have dynamics that we didn't have before. So I would say if I was on the fence of what I would want them to do, I would probably be more on board with the new tire model as well. Geez, I would just like them to fix some of the basic visual glitches that comes with the car. But if I was money man, I would want to bet on the new tire model to wrap up the car. Marshall, do you feel the same way, or is there another thing like maybe the new damage model that you wish that they would actually implement on this car to finish it off?
Um, as far as if I was to pick out of the new stuff, say like the new stuff iRacing has been implementing on other cars, it would probably be the tire model. It would just, I think, change a lot of the dynamic up. You can tell on the IR18 side that there's a lot of positive reviews with not only the multiple compounds, but the oval tire as a whole. The thing I would really ideally pick though, because it seems like a realistic thing, is that Jamie did a write up on this car. That's something you shed light on, the small aesthetic stuff that iRacing could tweak realistically, and they haven't had either the chance or they just haven't seen it. So, yeah, iRacing, if you're listening, Jamie Wilson did a beautiful write up of how to fix it as far as visual. So please, like, I know that's a realistic thing to see, so please do that. So,
Right. Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you do look in those patch notes occasionally. You will see those legacy cars pop up. You would think that adjusting head height would be something pretty easy to do from a visual perspective, and I can't remember all the other ones off the top of my head. That one was the one that stuck out to me the most. But yeah, I agree with you. If iRacing would just give us the time of day to just fix those little things that Jamie pointed out, even would help tremendously for our league and to be able to keep this car living through the history of the IndyCar series. There was one other thing that kind of came up when we were talking about the new tire model, and that was from a realistic perspective. I can't imagine that if we got the new tire model that it would be much different from the IR18 tire model. Do you think that I feel like that maybe I'm totally off base here, but couldn't they just bring the IR18 tire model to the IR05, or would they totally have to revamp that program, or were the tires totally different from IR18 to IR05?
if
They'd
I'm
have
not,
to
just say go for
go.
it, Logan.
So they have to revamp it because the suspension on the car alone is different. So it's a it's a different type of wear on the tire. That's another thing that I would like to see out of that new tire model is tire wear on a road course.
Hmm.
But also, it just yeah, it's just a whole nother car, and it's shoot
Yeah, I think there's like three
10
things
year
that
old tire
very different.
technology.
Yeah. and that's the other thing as well. If I'm not mistaken, I may have to look this up to see, but if I remember correctly, the dimensions of that Firestone tire were a little bit different, and not only that, the compound that you want to base it off of is a little different. So, like, say, in comparison to like the Formula 3 and the Indy Pro, like the tires are quote unquote supposed to be different because they're different manufacturers, different compounds. So you could probably do a copy paste job on it. Would it be to what it should be like? Probably not, but I guess that's up to iRacing devs, and whoever is a physicist and knows about tires probably knows way more than we
Yeah,
do. So
right. There's probably a reason why they didn't just kick it down to IO5 or even DW12. I don't think. Did DW12 get the new tire model? I'm not sure.
Can you hear
But
me?
yeah, now we can. Yeah. Did DW12 get the new tire model?
No, it
not
didn't.
that I
Oh,
know of,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, so with that, I guess we can just be safe to say that they probably won't be put the effort in to give us a new tire model. But as you alluded to, Marshall, it would be great if they could just take the time to fix some of those bugs. So hopefully iRacing's listening to us, and maybe we could get ourselves a professional driver in the Classic IndyCar Series someday, like Tony Kanaan. This was his car. I'd love to have like Tony Kanaan in here and be like, yeah, this is what this car felt like, and do a couple races with us. But I'll keep dreaming. Last year we got so close with COVID to be able to have some real life drivers hop in with us, but things started kicking off back to normal for them right as about the time they were about to join us. So we missed out on that opportunity. But if there's any real life drivers listening, we would love to have you. So get your input on how these cars handle and the type of life that we get to live in the Classic IndyCar Series community. But as I said, we're kind of short on time here, so we're getting ready to wrap up our season or our episode for this Classic IndyCar Series podcast. I think the next one's going to be a preseason preview. I'm going to try and get our two favorite broadcasters from iRacing to join us, and hopefully you guys can join us as well, listening in on podcast episode 4. But before we go, I think I'd like to give an opportunity for you guys to thank your sponsors, thank people that have been working with you, or general shout out time for you guys. Logan, why don't you kick off the shout out?
All right. I'd like to thank Race 92. They came on board. We have a deal worked out that probably once we get all our cars painted, that we're gonna have an iconic T-shirt probably come out. Um, Open Wheels, they've supported us this past season. They continued support this season. We got Dave.com, we got EDIFICE, IndyCar Ministries, and just want to thank them all because they helped the team look professional with having multiple sponsors, and we're able to have different cars. To me, it looks better. It looks good for us.
Yeah, for sure. I as an iconic member as well, I am very thankful that those guys are willing to work with us to make sure that not only have a good looking car, but we give somebody to give a shout out to at the end of the day, and it makes this experience so much better to be able to have people that we can thank at the end of the day. Marshall, it's your turn to give any shout outs to anybody that you feel like need it right now, and then we'll go ahead and wrap this up.
Um, yeah, firstly, I mean, team wise to Robert and Tristan and Dennis and all the guys at Vortex, it's a huge honor to get an opportunity to race with all of them, and I'm really grateful to see what's capable this season in CIS. I still have a personal sponsor, Freem USA. My buddy Ryan, who runs Freem USA out of Southern California, he does. They do not only obviously fire suits and everything all the way up to World Endurance and Formula One, but also in sim racing now they have new sim gloves that I'll be wearing for the entirety of the season, and tried them out last week, and they're a blast to use compared to real life karting gloves or racing gloves. So yeah, if you guys are looking at sim racing gloves, definitely give them a call. Google Free MUSA and you'll find them. And yeah, to Esports TV, also being on the car for CIS this season, and they're also the distribution for the entire broadcasting that RaceBot will be doing. So yeah, super stoked. And
Yeah,
thanks everyone.
I'm glad. I'm glad you brought up ESTV. I'm so stoked for that. I know that I've had some talks with the owner in the background, and it sounds like a very promising opportunity. And I'd like to thank uh, Yorga for introducing us to them, because now we have a new platform to reach to new people, and it sounds like we're going to have quite a few viewers that we can have attend our races every Sunday. And I took some time to check out their site and watch their show, and it's pretty cool. I'm very excited to see where this new partnership with ESTV takes us. I'm also very thankful for RaceBot and what they do for us every year. Robert and Lucas and the tireless hours that hit them, and the other people that work behind the scenes to make Classic IndyCar Series possible. It's such a great team to be a part of, such a great community to be a part of, and thanking everybody that races in this series. Without the competition and stuff like that, Classic IndyCar Series would not be what it is today. So I'd like to take that opportunity to thank everybody that tunes into these, and I would like to thank our sponsors. Reaching out to those guys to thank them and everything they contribute. I know that running a league is not easy, nor is it cheap, so having sponsors to be able to back us for these are huge. So any way that you guys as listeners or drivers can support our sponsors, it would greatly be appreciated by us as the admin team. But that's all we have time for today, guys. I'm looking forward to racing you guys this season, and I know we're going to have a tough time on our hands, but it's also going to be a fun time. So we'll look forward to seeing you guys in 2021, and we will catch you next time.